what's your typical day like, Contrarian?
Starts by picking the wickets.
I wake up really early in the morning and read stuff for work and do some email. Then I have coffee with Sue and Bowie, my dog. And then, depending upon if I have something or not, if I have something that I need to be early, I leave early. Otherwise, I usually try to be here about 8:30.
It's not early.
No, that's not. I mean, my early is usually about 4:30 or 5. But that's just, open all the reports, see what went on overnight, read everything. So I always take home. I still do paper. I know this sounds terrible for technologists that blog a lot. But I still print everything out and then read it and make notes in the margins and lists. And then, so oftentimes I need to read all that. I mean, they'll tell you. I mean, I'm always ready when we're in meetings. What we like to do is put the work papers, before we have a meeting or a decision to take, we want all the work done and all the work papers completed and in everybody's hands in advance of the meeting, so we can all do, it's just like when you were in school, you got to do your homework. So I tend to do my homework really early in the morning. I think I'm pretty efficient. Okay, so like right now, I only have 12 emails in. So I move really fast on emails. I print a lot of them and write the answers on the bottom of the page, and then, because I can write, if she prints a whole stack of emails, I can answer them faster by hand and give them back to her than typing. So I return calls really fast. So I never have a backlog on calls. I never have a backlog on emails. And I always stay on top of my homework. And I don't touch paper twice. So I just have a lot of these little rules that develop we all have different ways of working, right? You all have different ways of working. But these are just a few ways where,
What do you mean you don't touch paper twice?
After I get a deck, like tomorrow we have a big operational reliability meeting, Bill Lynch, Greg Kennedy, Dave Holt, and we have about a dozen initiatives on operational reliability, and that paper is in my briefcase. And in the morning at 4:30 or 5, I'll get up and read it, and I'll read it once and put all my notes in it, and then I'm done. I don't like things to stack up. I don't like anything. If things start stacking up on you, you're going to get behind. So I don't like things to stack up. I like to stay ahead of it. And the other important thing you have to do is say no often to calendar events so that you have time on your hands. And I don't play golf, and I'm not a member of a country club, and I don't play tennis. So I don't really have a lot of those kinds of distractions.
So do you ever escape this? I mean, think of things we don't,
I read a lot. So I read a lot, a whole lot, for pleasure.
Okay.
Trans-Texas DC 910, and actually to get from Amarillo to Houston, I was going down to visit my grandma. This would have been, I was probably 20 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And the flight went Amarillo, Lubbock, I think Midland, San Antonio, Hobby. Right?
So your first flight was really a whole.
It was the old linear route system in the United States. I mean, the hub and spoke evolved as a result of deregulation, because the old CAB, like the old, like a mail run. You stopped in every city as you went, and there wasn't a lot of non-stop, one-stop service.
How often do you fly?
Oh, I probably fly a couple times a week.
International or domestic, both?
Both, but more international. I mean, more domestic. I probably fly internationally on average once a month. But domestically, I fly all the time. Typically to Washington or New York, or one of our other hub operations, or big gateway operations, Boston, Detroit, Minneapolis, Seattle, LA. So I fly just like you do.
I mean, successful.
I would say
but it's
that
very
we probably are a bit
unusual.
contrarian. And only a bit contrarian because the old way of doing business has often not been successful. So how about we be contrarian about doing it a different way so that we're successful? But even our fleet strategy is contrarian to what Boeing and Airbus want us to do. Right? But now that you've been over to Tech Ops and you've seen this tremendous capability that we have and the great technicians that we have, then you understand perfectly that the key to running a really great airline is the capability of your technicians and your engineers. And so we're pretty contrarian on the fleet too, because, you know, the manufacturers, for instance, the manufacturers think you should have spare engine complement of about 13%. So if you had 100 engines hanging on airplanes, you need 13 spares. That's just 10, right? Actually, they want you to have more than that, but the key, you know, the key thing that we've set out to do is to beat the industry average price per gallon of fuel by about a dime a quarter. This quarter, we're going to beat it by about 14 cents a gallon, which is a huge number. And if you look back over the past year, 2 years, we've consistently beat the industry average fuel price per gallon by a pretty sizable number.
Does that
And the
include
refinery-
hedging? Sorry.
Yep, it does include
Okay.
hedging. But the refinery gives you information and knowledge about the marketplace that you don't otherwise have if you don't own the physical asset and participate in the marketplace, right? So we didn't really realize this. I call it boots on the street. We've got boots on the street, right? We've got a refinery, we're buying crude oil, we're selling refined products, we're moving products in the marketplace, which has resulted in our hiring a cadre of oil experts. Yeah, no, Seattle is a dramatically underdeveloped international market. And it is a great gateway for us and will be a very strong gateway for Delta long-term internationally. So I think we're up to 10 daily wide-body nonstops now out of Seattle, and it's going very well.
But some of the interesting markets where you all of a sudden have now, you really started challenging up in the state of Alaska and then the Spokane, Seattle shuttle.
In order to be in an international market, an international gateway, I'll give you a little statistic that you'll find interesting about how these hubs work. Here in Atlanta, I think there are 100 people a day. You know what a PDU is? We have 100 PDUs, Atlanta, Paris.
What's the P?
Per day each way. Passenger per day, I guess it's a PPDEW, but we call them PDUs.
It's a boat.
Passenger daily each way.
Yeah, passenger daily each way.
DOT staff.
And we have about 100 people. We have 100 PDUs Atlanta to Paris, but we fly 4 wide-body nonstops a day each way. And it's the power of the hub, right? And in order to make a hub really, really work, you've got to have a lot of feed, a lot of domestic feed. Because when you think about how a hub works, it's really about economic indivisibilities. So the person who in Spokane, Washington, all the people that want to go to all 10 of those international destinations from Spokane, they all get on the same airplane. And same thing like in Savannah, Georgia, right? So everybody in Savannah, Georgia, who are going to go to any of the 65 cities we serve nonstop out of Atlanta, they all get on one airplane. See how efficient that is? But at the same time, it's all that traffic that you need to be able to operate an international gateway. Because there are very few cities in the world that have enough local traffic in and of themselves. City pairs, and one of them is JFK London. JFK London has an enormous amount of local traffic internationally, but there aren't that many of those. Most everything else is like Atlanta, Paris, right? It needs a lot of feed. And so what we're building there is the feed that you need to run a big international gateway.
That's the primary, that's the driver even?
That's the driver. The driver is, we're gradually moving our operation in Asia, which was, started really at the behest of the Japanese government and General MacArthur in 1947. The hub was set up there because we were the national airline of Japan at the time, and the 52 bilateral set that up. And now you have airplanes that fly far enough, so we're moving away from that to flying out of Seattle nonstop to all the points in Asia, and then partnering with Korean, China Southern, and China Eastern, and Incheon, Beijing, and Shanghai.
Customers?
No, we're still going to have the loyalty program for our customers there, for all the customers there. What's really changed is, if you think about loyalty programs, they started before the industry was deregulated. And they were based upon the Civil Aeronautics Board view of 1 mile equal $1. And the stiffle. How many of you know what the stiffle is? I'm going to teach bloggers some terms.
This is a good one.
EDU,
Stump the man.
stiffle, the standard industry fare level. And the CAB basically equated a mile to $1. So it was appropriate to use miles in the first frequent flyer programs. Then as we deregulated the industry, mileage is no longer a proxy for loyalty or value, either for the customer or for the airlines. So what we've really done is had the frequent flyer program now evolve the same way deregulation has evolved in the industry. And so now it is very much like Capital One. Really, the bank cards pioneered this. Capital One, U.S. Bank, the Visa card issuers pioneered the notion of a revenue-based model. And so we're adapting and evolving with the way the marketplace has evolved on a loyalty program. Instead of using the CAB model, we're using the...
You bring up the credit cards. I know American Express is a huge partner of yours and a big revenue source, buying all those miles. If you're based at a penny a point or a penny a dollar sort of situation, valuation, that's how that, or a point a dollar, which sort of becomes a penny at some level, and there's 2% cash back cards. Are you worried there's the potential there that erodes the value of the program?
No, our program is incredibly valuable, and it's incredibly valuable both for us and for our partners at American Express. And I think if you look at just our publicly disclosed financials on the different transactions that we've done with American Express, it's an incredibly bright future for the Virgin Delta joint venture. If you think about where we were in 2008, we didn't even fly to the airport because we weren't allowed to legally. And then once the bilateral opened up, we couldn't get slots. We were able to finally get some slots from Air France and KLM. And what it means is that we have the number 2 position there. And if you look at branding in the marketplace for business and economy, Virgin's the top brand in the marketplace based upon customer survey data. And what we're able to do is hook up this huge network, this huge distribution machine that we have at Delta, corporate travel agreements, agency travel agreements. And we learn a lot from them about branding. They're such a well-branded company, and Richard Branson still is personally focused on that brand and what that brand means emotionally to consumers. So we learn a lot about that. When we have our quarterly meetings, that's always what you're listening for, is Richard Branson on brands. And so we learn a lot there. And then the flip side is that Virgin Atlantic suddenly is in all of our corporate agreements. So being in our corporate agreements overnight is huge for Virgin. So it's going to be incredibly successful.
And what was the thinking when you bought them into Atlanta? You did the you swapped a few.
Well, we're gonna continue to scramble the egg because they have a great, great brand. And when we mix flying like that, we have two brands in the marketplace, the two leading brands in the marketplace with leading positions. So when you're co-branded like that with one of the great airline brands in the world, and you have the strength of our hub, being able to put both in the market will strengthen us together.
You're allowing Virgin, but you're still allowing Virgin to be Virgin. I mean, you're not.
Oh,
products are
absolutely.
still
You
very
would never touch that.
distinctive.
That brand was ascendant. So we want it to be a very successful airline in its own right. But that we put the power of the two networks and the power of the two brands together.
Right.
Yeah.
So, quick question. Do you have any advice for like a young person like myself that wants to pursue a career in the airline industry?
What's your background?
Well, I'm going to start being a freshman at Embry-Riddle this fall, and I'm going to get a degree in business and pursue a career like on the business side.
So here's what I would do in your case. I would focus on, if you're going to get a degree in business, focus on finance.
Right.
Finance emphasis. And then take every opportunity you have to do internships. I mean, that's how I got my first job. My first job was an unpaid internship. I would always take an internship because once you're in the door, you can prove yourself. So that'd be my advice. Either an engineering or a finance background, because the business, as you all know, is an incredibly numbers-driven business. I mean, there's just numbers everywhere. I mean, there's so many numbers that you have to focus on which, you can get over-numbered in this business. So you've got to focus on which numbers are really important. So that's why having a lot of really smart people over there in the financial analysis department are so important. Does that help?
Yes.